Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and I want to talk to you guys about my top training tips. Now this can be for beginners, intermediates, and even sometimes advanced people. So let's get to it. The first tip that I say is most important is have a long-term plan. For most people, you hear them talk about, well, this is what I'm doing this week or today, or this is what I'm doing for this 3-week wave, or might be what I'm doing for 8 weeks. Here at Winning Strength, we try to write stuff out for 6 months and even have an idea of what we're going to do for an entire year. I have even in my competitive days laid out 4-year plans of not exactly what day-to-day I'm going to do, but what I think I might need to focus on. So make sure that when you guys are sitting down and training, you're having a long-term thought process, because as we well know, even if you just want to put an inch on your arm, that's not a 3-week process. For a lot of people, it's a multi-year process. So make sure you're thinking long-term in order to not make short-term problems. The next big thing that I think you guys need to focus on is focusing on weaknesses, and I talk about this a lot. I would say at bare minimum that 50% of your training should be dedicated towards weaknesses. Now, how do you find those weaknesses? You find those weaknesses by looking at your maximal effort attempts or lifts under fatigue. So if I were to say bench 300 pounds, I would have you work up to say 200 pounds, and I would have you do those reps until you fail. When you start to fail, you're no longer going to be able to take coaching cues, and you're going to use the muscles in which the body's going to want to use them anyway. You're going to start flaring your elbows or unlocking your shoulders. These are fairly common issues with people that bench 300 and under. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, but my point being is that your training should be focused mostly on your weaknesses. So a lot of your warm-ups and a lot of your accessories shouldn't be based on what you like to do. It should be based on what you need at that time. The next big training tip that I can give you guys is making sure that you're taking your rest and nutrition just as important as your training. I know for a lot of people, when they work out, they think that what they're doing in the gym is actually what's creating the process. But again, let's look at it from a plant's perspective. If I go plant a flower out in a garden and I don't give it any sunshine, I don't give it any water, and I don't give it any nighttime to kind of recover, it's not going to grow. So I look at training as the seed and the recovery around it as the sunlight and the water and the nutrients. So again, when we look at it in a plant, we understand, oh, that makes sense. But when we start looking at it in muscle growth, we start realizing that maybe that we're not taking a lot of that stuff seriously, which it should be. Now, for a lot of you guys that have diet issues or any of those types of things, you can consult with us. We can do a bioprint and see kind of what your body's doing at this time. And I strongly recommend going with a reputable supplement company like ATP Labs in order to get you the right supplementation if needed and if you have a deficiency. So making sure that you have a company that you can trust is very, very difficult, and that's why we use them in Canada. The next big thing, and we talk about this all the time, is make sure your technique is matching your intensity. This means that making sure that when you're doing your movements, everything looks fluid, perfect, and like a robot before you start thinking that intensity is going to be the way for you to get better. Intensity is a factor, but it's not the factor. This means if you watch a lot of pro lifters, their technique is nearly flawless to do world record attempts, or even national caliber lifting usually requires immense technique. But if we walk into our average gym like a Anytime Fitness or a Planet Fitness, you're going to see kids and young adults and even sometimes older people doing exercises with horrible form and then wondering why they're injured constantly or not making any progress. Technique is king, and make sure that your technique is perfect before you introduce higher levels of intensity. So I hope this helps you guys out immensely. We want to help you guys out at winningstrength.com, whether it be online coaching, manuals, or getting on the membership site. I think you'll find all of these tools to be very helpful in your ability to get better without increasing mileage. Talk to you guys soon.